Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 37. Do you make these mistakes with emotional eating? We are really excited to share today because we're going to be sharing, again, some of the top mistakes that we see when people are trying to heal from emotional eating and what you can do to start solving this emotional eating. And we're going to go over like the definition of emotional eating, what does it mean, and why this is important and why we're talking about this topic today is, first of all, a lot of you guys say that you are emotional eaters or that you do use food to cope. And we're going to talk about that. And tomorrow we have a workshop that we are running. Hold on, let me add Hannah in here. She is trying to come on binge eating, overeating, and emotional eating. And it's really, this workshop is all about the eating psychology way of how we help people overcome emotional and binge eating. So we're going to talk a little bit about that at the end of the live, but really we want you to know right away that tomorrow morning we are doing a free workshop all about binge and emotional eating. We've never shared these tips before because not only are we going through some 3 big mistakes people make, and 3 diet myths, but we're also going to be talking about specifically how to overcome binge and emotional eating from an eating psychology, from a diet recovery standpoint, and it's going to be awesome. You're not going to want to miss it. And we're also running this workshop next Tuesday evening, so we're having 2 times, 2 different days and times so that we can try to accommodate as many people as we can. So yeah, that's about it. Hannah, do you want to do our little intro?
Yeah, just want to welcome everybody. Hello, hello. So good to see all of you here. If you're watching live or the replay, just always say hello. Even if you are watching the replay, say hello to us so we know that you are here and alive and listening. I'm Hannah Hips. This is Sierra Spencer. We're the coaches of this group that are leading you to food freedom, confidence, and a diet-free life, just to be empowered around food. We are donut eating, veggie loving eating psychology coaches, mind body nutrition coach, as well as diet recovery. There's a little bit of yoga, a little bit of meditation in there. We have a well-rounded way of looking at food. We want to help you see food in a different perspective. We've seen food and dieting and the way to eat a specific way for a really long time. And what me and Sierra do is we are just taking down a new path that is more uplifting, life enhancing, empowering, where you get to take your life back and also enjoy food, where food isn't your life. You're not living to eat, right? But you are allowing food to be a part of your life in a healthy way where you feel good and confident and in control, really. So thanks so much for joining us today. And I'll start with like the first mistake that we make when it comes to emotional eating. The biggest thing that I see is when it comes to emotional eating is that we like give it meaning. We make emotional eating mean that we are bad or wrong or out of control or there's something wrong with you. When actually, like, emotional eating is a very natural thing that occurs since we're babies, right? You cry, you get food, you get the bottle, you get a boob, it soothes you. The thing that happens along the way is when we are messing with our food and we're restricting or dieting or anything along those lines, then we can use food in different ways. But if we were to look at emotional eating as not this big deal, not that we were bad or wrong for doing it, what do you think would happen? How would you feel about it? Like how would you handle your emotional eating? Would you see it differently? Would you feel differently about it? Would you be able to move on with your life a lot quicker? Because what it tends to bring up for people is a lot of guilt and shame. And so I just want to pose that out there. Like, are you giving emotional eating meaning that you're bad, that something's wrong with you, that you're out of control?
Yeah. That's definitely a big mistake we see. And that can be hard to get out of your brain, like out of that brain pattern. And that's what we're going to be teaching in our workshop tomorrow is how to like not make emotional eating such a bad negative thing in your world? How can we change that? So again, we do psychology, right? Like how can we shift that so that it doesn't become this bad, out of control, something's wrong with you every time you emotionally eat, okay? You're also not a robot, right? So humans have emotions. Like we're going to eat when we're happy, sad, like that's also normal. But how do we, again, we're going to talk more about that tomorrow, but emotional eating, part of it is normal, but what's not normal is using food to numb out. Okay, so we're going to talk about that more too. But the second mistake we see with emotional eating is basically it becomes this like diet. It becomes the don't eat emotionally diet. So we say, I'm not going to emotionally eat, right? Just kind of like, I'm not going to eat carbs this week. It's like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to emotionally eat. And guess what? The more you resist something, the more you do it, right? Store, you can't have the candy. Guess what they obsess about the entire time? Candy, 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 candy. Hey, Ricky. If you're watching, say hello so we know who's here. So when you are trying to not emotionally eat, you're basically setting yourself up to emotionally eat and then fall off a wagon, right? Like it becomes like a wagon to fall off. It becomes off track, on track. And whenever you start going into this all or nothing thinking, like I'm never going to emotionally eat again, it becomes a diet. And then we fall off of it and then we beat ourselves up and becomes right back into that cycle. So by trying to not emotionally eat, it's a big mistake because you're just keeping yourself in that cycle.
Mm-hmm. So true. And then the last mistake that we see is, okay, so we are emotional eating. We're eating all the foods that we don't want to eat, right? The food, the candy, the chips, the fried foods, the foods that make us not feel so good, or whatever they do, or you eat too much of it. What happens is then we decide that we need to either restrict those foods or restrict food in general, or start another diet, or go on another cleanse, or go like, I need to like get myself together, and you go on this healthy eating plan. So the backfire of that, kind of what Sierra said in number 2, is when we are emotionally eating and we then begin to restrict our food, what tends to happen is we are going to then go for those foods in a time of distress. So that happens because we now make food the reward. So you're not allowing yourself to have the chips because you only eat them when you're stressed out. Well, now the chips are no longer there, but then you get stressed out. What's going to happen? You're probably not going to be able to control yourself, and you're going to eat the chips and probably a lot more, and then you're going to feel bad and beat yourself up and everything else. And I know, Sierra, you had something really good that you wanted to talk about with the restricting and dieting.
Yeah, like when you like dieters, so here's the thing, like when you diet or you restrict or you're trying to like be good or I don't know, not eat carbs, what happens is you kind of lose touch with your hunger signals and your fullness signals. And so what happens is a lot of times when we restrict, or dieters in general aren't really in touch with their hunger and fullness signals. Like how many of you watching this trust your hunger signals? How many of you trust your body to tell you when to stop eating? Probably not many of you. Like that's a big common complaint we hear is I don't trust my body. So what happens is research shows that dieters have a higher tendency to use food for comfort because it's restricted. So we will teach you how to switch that around. But like when you start to relax your restrictions around food, emotional eating automatically, naturally decreases. Our clients are always like, floored, like they're like amazed. They're like, oh my god, like I've had like a pint of ice cream in the freezer for like 2 weeks. I haven't even like really thought about it, right? It's like this really cool, like slow, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I haven't been like stuffing my face every time. Like we just got off the phone with a client that like, she saw a picture and kind of got triggered. Like I didn't know, I kind of had this triggering moment, but she didn't even turn to food to cope. She's like, wow, I didn't even use food to cope with that negative emotion, right? So it happens naturally when we start relaxing our restrictions around food. And we're going to talk about that more in our class tomorrow about different types of restrictions, all that good stuff, all around emotional eating and binge eating, tomorrow in our workshop. So again, if you haven't registered for the workshop, it is going to be on Zoom. It's not going to be live. We're going to be doing it in a private Zoom group. That way we can answer questions. It's more workshop style. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. We're going to be really interactive. It's going to be low key and relaxed. We're just going to be talking with each other. But we are going to teach you the eating psychology way of how to deal with binge and emotional eating that has been really successful for a lot of all of our clients. So that's tomorrow morning. So comment below workshop and we'll send you that registration link. It's free. We also have a registration link that you can also sign up for next Tuesday evening if that time works better for you.
Yeah, and I love what you said real quick is about when you start healing your relationship with food, you get more relaxed around food, emotional eating naturally decreases. I just want you to just put that little nugget out there because tomorrow what we're going to teach is how to relax around food, how to have a better relationship with food. And we're going to talk about like things that get in the way of that. So come join us. We would love to have you there. We and Sierra love talking about this, and we have really amazing nuggets. And we've been perfecting this talk and really working hard on really giving you the biggest shifts that you can when it comes to food.
Absolutely. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us live. Comment below and we'll get you that link for our workshop tomorrow and Tuesday. Bye.
Bye, you guys.